What is up, beautiful people? The road to 100K a month, episode 8. I'm hyped as fuck for this one, man. This week we've had a lot of observations, a lot of lessons learned, a lot of success on the chart, and a pretty interesting week with a lot to take away and a lot to be happy about and to continue striving for. Starting with, we'll get straight into it. I mean, with tradition, I'll put up a screenshot of the weekly P&L. I'm gonna put it up on my computer as well. That's what we're looking like. So that was our weekly P&L. And yeah, we profited the most on this week. As you fucking know, Friday's a fucking L. However, I pre-decided we would do 10 micros on Friday, and I was unfazed by that. We stuck to our strategy. And then Monday, obviously, as you guys can see, that was Memorial Day. Markets were closed. But despite that, we profited a good sum, and that was our PR week. And then I also pull up the screenshot for our month on the screen. Then that's what we're looking like on the month. So as you guys can probably tell by seeing that chart, you would see Fridays are the biggest L's, which we learned from our mistakes. First full month of trading. We learned from our mistakes. We're no longer ever going to be trading in such high conviction on Fridays. I fucking hate Fridays. But I think, as far as I can see, I don't have it pulled up, but I think we had a green day nearly every single day we traded on any given weekday. So for a first full month of trading, I think that was a good milestone to hit, but I'm never satisfied. I want to continue going for more. A lot of people might get excited by that, but for me, I just want to, off the rip, make it a standard. Make it like well, of course, this is what I do. And then, of course, I'll put up a screenshot of the drawdown for our accounts. So like I said, we have 550K flex accounts on Lucid. Our drawdowns are pretty much at 900. And by the end of the video, I'm actually going to describe like what I'm thinking about as far as my payout strategy and scaling moving forward. But that's what we're looking like. We're pretty much on the edge of about to getting a payout. And I'll be explaining what I'll be doing as far as my scaling, as I reflected yesterday. But going into Monday was markets closed, but I have here one thing I learned. As the goal for any man, bro, I read this and this was nuts, bro. When Ronaldo broke up with his girlfriend, he had a Russian girlfriend, which I'm sure many of you might not. I don't know her fucking name, but I know he had that Russian girlfriend. When they broke up, she lost 11 million followers, bro. That is aura, that is motion. As a man, that is the goal, bro, is to level up so fucking hard. It doesn't have to be to that scale because we're talking about the number one most famous person in the fucking world. But it is that level of aura, that level of motion. I read that and I was like, fuck yeah, bro. That's the goal. Get so fucking good. That's the response, bro. And that was nuts for me. I read that and I thought I'd mention it. That was pretty sick. But going into Tuesday, markets are open. So I put here, this is a reflection I had. So when I was doing my white wall stare, as I always do pre-market, I was thinking to myself, and I put here, it's good to have a chip on the shoulder. Good to have something to prove. And that's what I was, when I was mid staring at my white wall pre-market, that's one of the reflections I had was, it's good to have a chip on your shoulder. I think a lot of people perhaps look at having a chip on your shoulder as like a bad thing or trauma or whatever. I look at it as like a superpower, bro. Like genuinely, I think it's all about how you look at things. And me personally, I'm not even gonna hide it. I have a lot of chips on my shoulder, bro. Like I have so many things I have, like in my subconscious, I want to prove people wrong, that I want to be the best. And I think everybody intrinsically, whether they like it or they don't, should have and probably do have chips on their shoulder. And I just thought I'd mention it because it's like, it's a good thing to have in my opinion. And I think as I was staring at my white wall, I was thinking about it. Is having a chip on your shoulder really a good thing? And I'm like, yeah, it is, bro, because it pushes you to prove whatever that chip on your shoulder really is. So I thought I'd mention it. So as far as the trade, so first trade of the week. So my bias was we had all-time highs. I'll pull up on the screen. We had all-time highs hit on Memorial Day pre-market. We had a 4-hour bullish trend. 1 hour could see a breaker structure happening. We did form a 4-hour bearish gap. We had a 1 hour been respecting it multiple times. We had a new week opening gap below, and then my bias was pretty much we would like to see how price reacts off the new week opening gap, and likely look for longs if a retrace was to occur. And so my bias was, so it was as far as I have here, 4-hour bearish had been respected and failed to break past. A new week opening gap had yet to be filled, plus previous New York sessions yet to be taken. We had a 5-minute bearish gap that we formed. We inversed the 4-hour bearish gap plus the 50-minute bullish gap. And then I entered on the next 5-minute gap. And then my targets were the significant levels plus the new week opening gap. Then we had entered, we executed with 35 contracts, as you guys can see. We pretty much hit on every single one of those trades. Partials and break even hit, TP1 hit, TP2 hit. My thoughts were W trade, PR trade, that's the most we ever profited on a trade. I think it was like a 2.5K day. Was going to take longs, but didn't get that last 5-minute fair value gap. And then price reversed and I capitalized. And that was kind of my thought process on Tuesday. Now going into Wednesday, as far as the trade, the bias was we had no clean and respected gaps on the 4-hour. Yes, so we had no gaps on the 4-hour. The new week opening gap still was in play. Had only been respected, it's only respected it once since yesterday. All-time highs reached pre-market. 4-hour uptrend, 1-hour uptrend, draws of liquidity to the downside. Could see potentially another fill into the new week opening gap and taking previous session draws of liquidity and then reverse to all-time highs, staying open-minded. As far as our actual setup, as you guys can see on the screen, we had 3 50-minute gaps formed pre-market. We had key draws, Asia low and London low. We were swept at open, but previous New York levels plus new week opening gap yet to be swept. We had a breaker structure onto the 1-hour, forming a downtrend. Came back to previous 50-minute gap and retraced. Entered off the 1-minute inversion for the fucking first time. And new week opening gap was our target, and we fucking failed, bro. Yeah, thoughts I had here. This was, I think I'll go over my second trade. But I put here as my first recap for my first trade, never entering on the 1-minute. The reason, I think a lot of people, and again, I don't like to compare myself to most traders in the space, but I think, and I suspect from what I see, a lot of people take 1-minute inversions or 1-minute fair value gaps. I personally, this is the first time I ever did it and it fucking failed, bro. I hate 1-minute gaps because they hold no power, bro. There's so many 1-minute gaps at any given time that I would rather wait to see like at least a higher time frame, which for me at this point solidified that a 5-minute minimum. That is the only gaps I want to be entering off, because for me it didn't work out, and that's proof. At least for my strategy, the way I trade, shit didn't work out. And as far as the second trade, we waited, and this time we entered off the 5-minute gap. We got that 5-minute gap. I put 30 contracts this time, and I think we smacked that shit. And then my thoughts. So my overall thoughts am I here. At this point, this was actually a very interesting day. I was quite disappointed in myself. I put here, not 100% there yet. TP1 hit, moved break even just above the gap to end green. That's what I put in there. But the reason I'm trying to think why I felt like I was disappointed, because I do remember when I took that trade, I was quite disappointed in myself. Maybe it was just the mindset. I felt like it was a little bit of like a mini tilt at the time of like me forcing the second trade because I wanted to get back to cover that first loss. And bear in mind, this whole month, I have not had a losing trade I've had losing trades, but I haven't had a losing day from Monday to Friday, from Monday to Thursday. So I think internally, my body now kind of gets into this mode that if I lose on any given day, I don't like to lose because I know that's like a red day and I'm not used to red days. So I think maybe that's why I was disappointed, because I don't know, maybe it was impatience, because prior to that as well, I never took a 1-minute inversion, and that time I did. Perhaps it was FOMO, that I felt like we wouldn't have had enough time to form a 5-minute gap. So let's enter off a 1-minute and let's try and let's catch the move. So moving forward, I learned my lesson. Never entering off a 1-minute ever again for the time being. And just stay patient. And then this time, 5 minutes for me are my magic number. Also, after a reflection at a Wednesday, started rewatching Suits, the series. I watched Suits years ago, bro. And Suits is actually a G series. I've been actually rewatching it. It's been hella fucking fire, bro. Going into as far as I think there was something else after the session that I thought to mention, or not. Let's see. No, I don't think so. Oh yeah, I started, so after this trade, this is actually a really fucking interesting one. A lot of traders, I guarantee you, I'm sure that he's not the only, bro. Bro, he's inspiration to millions, bro. But I watched Julian Petrulis, and I saw a story he had posted. I'm gonna pull up the screenshot on the screen, and I'm gonna pull it up myself on my phone. He posted that screenshot, and I looked at that, and I'm like, and this was at like 12 a.m. Yeah, I put it here. It's at 12 a.m. And he put, been here for years, the only one left who's poured it out all for free. Still never charged a single dollar. Turned down tens of millions in partnerships and promos. Don't even monetize YouTube. And for me, I looked at that, bro, and I'm like, that's kind of what I want to do, bro. Like, I want to have that level of motion. Julian Petrulis, for those who don't know who he is for me probably where I want to be at my ultimate point as a trader, is where you're trading on based off fundamental aspects. As far as I know, he trades on IPOs when companies go public, all these different things. And the past stories before that, he was just giving signals. It was just signals of a screenshot of him saying, I'm buying this at this share price, puts up a screenshot of the share price in like a month, 2 months, made his profits, and he had like a bunch of these screenshots. And I looked at that and I'm like, bro, that's low-key inspiring, bro. Turned down tens of millions in partnerships and promos. And when you look at him, bro, the guy doesn't sell a course. There's no fucking mentorship. There's no coupons. There's no affiliates. It is just pure him doing it for the love of the game. And for me, I take that as inspiration of like, that's something I would want to emulate myself. And to be at such high integrity, to be like that and to be an inspiration as that, which I thought was pretty sick. I think going into, so that was Wednesday, and then going into Thursday. Thursday, we had our first 1K view video. Shout out to you people, bro. We had our first video that hit 1K. That was sick to see, bro. I'll mention that at the end of the session. And then here, so our bias going into the session. We were at a 4-hour bearish trend. I'll put up on the screen. But could see a breaker structure to the upside happening. We had a 1-hour bullish gap pre-market. We had a 15-minute plus a 1-hour uptrend. Key draws of liquidity to the up to the upside. Would like to see a retrace into the 1-hour gap and likely look for longs. Now, I'm gonna put up the screenshot of my intended setup. To you motherfuckers who called this trade, bro, GG's in the fucking chat, bro. But my intended setup was that it was we tagged down into our 1-hour bullish gap and retraced out of it. We had a 5-minute plus a 15-minute plus 4-hour V-shaped recovery. We had a 10-minute fair value gap formed and respected, and back into maintaining bullish trend. All time frame is bullish, and I put here crazy spikes, all-time highs hit. And as you guys can see, I was literally, I'm gonna put it up on my screen so I can see it in real time as well. I was going to take it. I was literally a minute away from setting it on my calendar and actually executing it. But before I had the time to, price just fucking ripped. Took out all of my key draws of liquidity that I had drawn out. And it sucks, bro. Is what it is. But here's a very interesting point that I found. That I think on the first week or second week of Jake trading, he would have fucked up here. At this point, I would have been furious, bro. I would have been like angry as fuck. I would have been like, holy fuck. I knew exactly where price was gonna go. I had the confluences to back it up. It took out every single draws of liquidity that I had drawn out. Fuck my life. But instead, after this happened, low-key, I was stoic as fuck. I'm like, cool. Price just took out all of my draws of liquidity. It's likely gonna mean that we're not gonna have another trade for today. It sucks, big time. But the market can still always present an opportunity. And indeed, it did. And indeed, your fucking boy capitalized. And the one I took, we were continuing bullish after aggressive spike. We held there, 5-minute gap formed and respected. 15-minute gap had overlapped. And then we were extremely bullish on all time frames. As far as I know, I think my stop loss nearly got hit. Yeah, nearly by a wick. But we held strong, and I think break-evens and partials got hit. TP1 got hit. And then we moved our price to break even to like the top, and we just cashed up because I thought at that point, once it hit TP1, I figured price might start reversing. But what actually ended up happening is it kind of chopped a little bit and then it ended up hitting my my top contract, but it is what it is. I'm not gonna be phased by it. I just got out of my position. Besides, I had a Steve Will Do It video pulled up. I was like, fuck, I want to watch that shit. It was late. I wanted to have my dinner, and I just executed that shit. But that's the point. But yeah, to the motherfuckers who called that fucking Trump, it was a Trump tweet. Trump tweeted at that time. I took out all of those rules of liquidity. GG's to you, bro. That must have felt good. I'm sure at one point I will take a trade where the news actually pulls in my favor, and it's like that. That was sick. My thoughts, pulled up break even to the top, cashed earlier. And then another thing I said here, I never usually look at the 10-minute, but I think I'm going to also start using that as a confluence. I think a lot of the times I see 10-minute gaps form, or I don't see a 5-minute gap form, or I don't see a 15-minute gap form, and I think, okay, there's no imbalance in price here. But then I always have the 10-minute, and I realized the reason I drew out that 10-minute gap there was because there was no 5-minute and there was no 15-minute, and then obviously, as you guys can see, price just soared. So it's like a weird number, like a 10-minute gap. I don't think not many people look at the 10-minute time frame, but I'm going to add that to my arsenal. That's pretty good. And then Friday, I was reading the book Relentless. So yeah, I'm still reading the book Relentless by Tim S. Grover. I'm actually going to read I think I wrote here bottom 82 to 83. This book, low-key, it's such a good book, bro. And I like the mindset that I'm cultivating by reading this book. It truly brings out in me, at least for me, it brings out like a winner mentality, bro. Like a mentality that just wants to win, that's never satisfied, that's never content, that wants to dominate. And that's why, as I recommended last episode that we did, that a lot of you guys should probably read it if you want to cultivate that mindset. But I think here, this was about having a dark side. So this was actually a very interesting point. I'm just gonna read it, and you guys can take your points, and I'll mention afterwards. But deep inside you, there's an undeniable force driving your actions. The part of you that refuses to be ordinary. The piece that stays raw and untamed. Not just instinct, but killer instinct. The kind you keep in the dark, where you crave things you don't talk about, and you don't care how it comes across to others because you know this is who you are, and you wouldn't change it if you could. Which you can't, because no one really changes. You can try, you can make promises, you can seek help and read books and learn ways to suppress your basic nature, but the real person inside you stays the same. It has to. That's who you are. It's not bad, it's not good. It's just the natural untamed instincts telling you what it wants and driving you to get it. Sex, money, fame, power, success, whatever you crave. And before you try and tell me you don't have a dark side, let me promise you, everyone has a dark side. In your head right now, think about the things you don't want anyone to know about you. It's okay. No one will know. The secrets you keep, the maneuvers that have helped you along the way, your desires, your greed, your ego, the lust you feel for the things that you're not supposed to have. That's your dark side. You need it. Because if you haven't figured out by now, that's the essential link to getting into the zone and achieving what you want. Fact, I've known a lot of very successful, highly driven individuals, and without exception, every single one has a dark side. Their dominance and ability to go off the charts are all driven by something deep and intense. It fuels and sustains them. The fire to prove greatness, sexual energy, insecurity. It's something different in every person, but it's all about going to that side of yourself that no one else can see. Getting rid of the safety net and judgment, opinions that hold most people back, letting go. And essentially what I took away from that was, it's kind of the point I mentioned actually on Tuesday that I had when I was staring at my white wall, where you said, like, most people have a chip on their shoulder, and in this point, one of the key points to the chapters is everyone has a dark side. And I think it's true when you look at a lot of the greats, and I studied a lot of the greats like Mike Tyson, like Cristiano Ronaldo, like Michael Jordan. A lot of these people don't have like a very positive mindset. A lot of the time it's a very negative mindset. It comes from things that happened in their childhood, traumas that they had held back, the way they were raised, the environments that they were brought up in. And intrinsically, you can even see them when they're in their peak. They have a dark side. when Michael Jordan like wins his championships, when he was in the final, like, at least the clips I've seen, he's not happy, he's not excited, he's there to dominate. When you look at Mike Tyson in the ring when he was a champion at 19 years old, it's just anger. It's just like it's a dark side that's overrun. And I think that's a good point. And I'm going to continue reading that chapter. I can't speak more about it because I haven't yet read more. But I thought I'd mention it because it's true. I think everybody has the dark side. And there's no point in suppressing it because it will likely help you get to where you want to go and achieve your desires. And that was Friday. I think I mentioned the Friday trade or not. Nope. So as far as the bias for Friday, so yeah, this was the last trade of the week. Our bias. So we had a bullish trend on all time frames. We had chopped the whole Asia and London session. 4-hour gap formed from yesterday. Respected cleanly on all time frames. 1-hour gap 2. Hit all-time highs yesterday, but decent rows of liquidity. Not too below. Ideally would like to see price come down either to the 1-hour or the 4-hour gap to respect and look for further longs. I'm not expecting much due to it being Friday. Once again, pre-decided one trade, 10 micros. Last Friday, I think I pre-decided one trade, 50 micros. This time I just decided one trade, 10 micros. And as far as the setup, we were bullish off the rip. We had a 5-minute plus 15-minute V-shaped recovery. We had two 5-minute gaps that were formed. We respected on the second. And at that point, I had just entered. And then mid-trade, we had a 15-minute gap that had formed. And then, yeah, price hit stop loss. So we nearly actually edged our partials in the break-even zone, but I can't really hate. I at that point, I wasn't really bothered. Like I said, it was my record week before I took the trade internally because I knew if I lost this trade, it would generally not affect the P&L in any shape or form. I just took it because the setup presented itself, and at that point, stayed disciplined and got off the charts. So that was that. And as far as my scaling plan, so this is another thing I'll mention as well. Or was this reflected? Yeah, and as far as my scaling plan, so as far as my payouts, this was reflected straight after Friday. I think one thing I've had is I've thought like I was being too perfect. I was thinking in too much of a perfect sense. So my goal, I crunched up the maths and the numbers. I think I will be able to hit my $100,000 month purely off prop firms. I think I will be able to do it. But one of the mindsets that I've had since I began this series is having a mindset of perfection. Is focusing on, okay, once we get to the max payout, we reinvest this money into the X amount of accounts. And we have a perfect risk management strategy, and we have a perfect strategy of how we're going to pass more evaluations and how we're going to stack more funded accounts. And I think the mindset I need to get into now, it's just no perfection. It's just take the payouts and reinvest. Treat it like a business. It doesn't matter if it's messy. I have something in me that sometimes needs things to be perfect, needs things to fall in order and perfect. I like flawless execution, and I realize that if I scale to multiple accounts, and I start scaling to 30, 35, 40, 45, even 50 accounts at one point, it's not going to be fucking clean. So there's no point for me to act in a mindset of perfection. And I'm going to start taking the payouts sooner. So I think instead of even going for a max payout, I want to start scaling a lot more aggressively. And I think every week is a week that ends up being wasted and that's gone and that you can't retrieve back. So I think at this point, anytime I'm probably eligible for a payout, I'll probably take it and reinvest into more accounts. I think my focus right now would be to stack multiple accounts and start scaling it. And not focusing on the perfect game plan of let's first get a max payout, as I think I mentioned on one of the previous episodes, that I would only take a max payout. Instead of having it in a perfect world, I'm just going to take a payout. Take a payout, get used to the feeling, and then start reinvesting it into more accounts. So I already have the exact prop firms that I'm going to be going for, which I'll share with you guys once everything's reinvested. But I think I'll be eligible for a payout. So on Lucid, I am $100 away from being eligible from my first payout, which I think would be $2.5K across all of my accounts. So the case could be as of Monday, or whenever the case is, my next winning trade would be meaning that I'll probably take the payout. And that will be that, and I'll be pretty much reinvesting it. But the point I'm trying to illustrate is, as far as my scaling plan, I'm no longer going to be thinking in a state of perfection. it's gonna be fucking messy. I just know that if I follow my process on a day-to-day, the setups are good, my accounts will do the work. I don't have to focus on the drawdown. I don't have to focus on my profit targets. I know that over time, if I just focus on good setups, good trading on the charts, shit's gonna just materialize in fashion. So that's my reflection there. And yeah, we probably will be eligible as of next week. I don't want to speak anything too early. I have no idea what happened there, but that will wrap up the video. So I hope everybody enjoyed. Honestly, a very successful week on the charts. It's one of those that I just want to continue doing. I want to continue compounding. It also marks the first full month of myself trading, and we've made a lot of progress. I mean, I'll put up the P&L once again for our month. I'm pretty proud of it, honestly, and I think I want to continue going for it. I don't want to be satisfied. I never want to be content. We still have such a long way to go, but I think as of these next weeks will probably be the time where a lot of things will start coming into motion as I scale to more accounts, and I start compounding and reinvesting everything back again, and all of my surplus that I end up getting back into more accounts, back into trading, and truly try and get to that 100K a month mark when time permits. And one thing about me is as well, it's like I want to optimize for efficiency to getting there in a clean manner, but I also want to get there quick. You know, I say quick, but I don't want this to be years. I believe in myself, and I believe in my ability that it can be done before. And I think I'll end this video off with a final thing. I don't think I mentioned it. I don't think I did, and I think I had it written here. This is actually gonna be fire for you guys. Yeah, bro. This is actually something. Yeah, I had this on Thursday, where it was a Nero. So I look up to somebody in the space. If you guys ever want to know somebody who's good for when it comes to manifesting, or when it comes to metaphysics, to your reality manifesting, a lot of people might think that's woohoo shit. Shit's fucking real. I started doing it like a year ago and started to like actually have conscious in doing so. And as of a year ago, that's where things, for me at least, materially started to change in my reality. But Nero Knowledge on YouTube has a way that he describes manifesting as: manifesting is internally shifting to a degree to which you no longer are emotionally dependent on seeing reality change, when you're good with it and you're good without it. What this tries to exemplify, and the way I took this and the way I look at this from the road to 100K a month, most people, if you look at yourself and you want to set yourself a goal, think about a goal for yourself. What is the goal that you want to achieve in life? Right? Whether it's you want to be a professional footballer, whether you want to be, as well as me, a profitable trader, you want to get to 100K a month as well. Whatever your goal is. For most people, when you give them the goal right in their platter and you give it to them on their platter, they get excited by it. The reality is they're not used to it. They'll be excited. They'll be jumping up and down. They'll be emotionally elevated. They'll be like emphatic about it. But what this tries to signify by saying manifesting is internally shifting to a degree to which you are no longer emotionally dependent on seeing reality change means that you live within it. And for me, one of the key things that I'm going to be taking away in this journey, and this is how I'm going to tie up the whole loop of me getting to the road to 100K a month, is emotionally already, month one, is not shifting my emotional state. Not shifting to a degree that if I was to hit 100K a month tomorrow, that I would not feel anything, because internally, mentally, I'm already doing 100K a month. 100K a month is already my shit. I do that shit consistently. I take those payouts consistently. And I think that's what that quote tries to emphasize, and that's how I take away from it, is trying to get there as quick as possible. Try and get to the emotional state of the reality that you want to live in, the desired state, the shit that you want to do, the shit that you want to live, the things that you want to achieve, and living in a state that whatever happens in reality, you're good with it and you're good without it. Because emotionally and internally, that's your frequency, that's your level already. And whether you don't have it yet or you have it, it doesn't fucking matter. You're at that frequency and you're at that state where, for me, it is 100K a fucking month. And as I continue to scale to more accounts, that is the mindset I think I should be approaching things. And I recommend a lot of you approach that as well. And again, if you don't manifest and if you don't focus on that type of stuff, I think you definitely should, bro. And for me, it had huge changes. And I think that way that quote is phrased is so good to constantly remind yourself. But aside from that, boys, hope you enjoyed. I'm gonna sign off. Hope you guys had a good week. Hope you guys, whenever you watch this, have a great week as well. But aside from that, keep fucking crushing.